We're back here on Overtime, and here's the first question to you, Suze Orman. How do you feel about the buy gold and end the Fed crowd? I think of Ron Paul when I hear that.
He's a whack job.
Not on everything, just on that. I
But
love him on foreign policy.
He's the only one who tells, when he speaks, you know he's telling the truth.
No pandering. You gotta love him just for that. But I agree on this, he's crazy.
Gold, and that's what I'm talking about here. Last time he ran, I said the same thing. It's just a nutty idea, and it's not going to happen.
It's throwing our lot into the whims of the mining industry, right?
And everything else. So that isn't the problem. His suggestion to go back to that is not the solution. He's just on that one topic. He's lost it.
I know so many people who are big Ron Paul fans, especially younger people, and I understand why they love him on the issues that I love him on. Why is a guy who, in my view, is so out ahead on these issues, what is in his brain that he can't get past the gold thing?
I have to tell, I'm not sure, and I didn't know what it was even 4 years ago. He was really onto this as well. I don't know why.
And he was dead wrong when he said 4 years ago in the collapse that we'd have hyperinflation. So Ron Paul lovers, I just know that.
But he does say what he means, and I wish he actually was more popular than he was.
I do too.
But he just needs a little tweaking, and he'd probably be the best for that.
I think it's going to take a little more than a little tweaking, though. I mean, he has no. It is great that he says exactly what he means, and that is incredibly refreshing. It's just that. It's just a little crazy sometimes. Like the gold thing.
The gold thing, also health care. Not good on that. No. But,
Those are little issues.
Well,
But Ron Paul, without the crazy, is Ralph Nader, right? I mean, and Ralph Nader, that dog don't hunt. I mean, he's
not in the Republican Party, right? Or the Democratic Party, right? You're right. Okay. Did President Obama inappropriately politicize the National Prayer Breakfast by suggesting Jesus would support taxing the rich? He said, "For unto whom much is given, much shall be required," and went on to say, "And I believe in God's command to love thy neighbor as thyself." Boy, as always, controversial.
Yeah, that seems more plausible than Jesus would have an account in the Caymans, I mean.
The thing is that they can, one of the Republican congressmen walked out on the prayer breakfast. This is just, it's like somebody yelled, "You lied," then they stuck a finger in his face. Now I'll walk out on the prayer breakfast. They're just upping the ante on how they can disrespect the black president, in my view.
President?
Because they never did any of that to any other president.
And I saw the prayer breakfast, and President Obama did not say Jesus says tax the rich. That never came out of his mouth. What President Obama was talking about was, he was talking about in the book of Proverbs, is how basically we're going to be known about how we treat the least of us. And he's absolutely right. The thing that makes this country so great is the fact that we as a country, it's the idea of what America is. America is the purest meritocracy that the world has. And all we're simply saying is that if we have massive disparities between Americans, we're not living up to our best ideals. We're not the country that I know we can be. So that's simply the point that I was trying to make. This is not about class warfare or anything along those lines. What class warfare is the fact that we have so many people, is the fact that we have 46 million people living in poverty, and the fact that the top 1% now controls 25% of all the income in this country. That's class warfare.
You have silver-tongued it again, my speech-making friend. And also, I, of course, am not a believer in gods, but, I did read Jesus' book. And I love his philosophy. And, if there's one thing that he seems to have a real bug up his ass about, it's be nice to poor people. And I do not like rich people. He doesn't like rich people, and he loves poor people. He said...
He didn't write the book.
He didn't write the book, right? Correct.
It was
right. That's
hippie
correct.
Buddies. His hippie buddies wrote it.
It
was the hippie buddies.
Neither did anybody who ever lived with him know him. And I think people think that the Gospels are written by his disciples. That's not who Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are.
Look at you.
Well, lots of religious people argue with that. They insist that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were his disciples. They were not. They lived 40 to 70 years after he died. Yeah. So, but anyway, this is what his PR people
Splitting hairs again.
put out. And what they put out was it's a constant theme. It's a constant drumbeat. Be nice to poor people. Rich people cannot get into heaven. It's like going through the eye of the needle, that whole thing. So, you know, how this party is able to align their hyper-Christian activity and
Okay. So
He's going to do it. You're going to resolve
no, here's
it.
the thing. And this goes back to your earlier point, like why is it that these people making $50,000 like Republicans, okay? Because they don't think that what the Democrats do, not they don't mean well, but what they
Right.
do doesn't work. That the whole income transfer thing doesn't make up for the fact that I need to get a good job, and to get a good job, I need a good education. And yes, there has to be a meritocracy, but there's got to be a system. I basically know that if the employers are getting crushed, that's not helping me out. That's not a good end game for me.
I think you're right on the money. They do not think, I think it's exactly what they think. The Democrats have good intentions, but they think it doesn't work. And the reason, of course, it doesn't work is because it's blocked by Republicans. I mean, that is a lot of reason why it doesn't work. It's true. I mean, honestly.
I can't
Isn't
win.
a lot, isn't a lot
I
of the
took my best shot.
No, but isn't a lot of the reason why Obama has not been able to move the economy more forward
Oh,
is because it
dude,
was
man,
blocked?
he had 2 years of Democrats in both in the Senate and the House. He got everything he
but he
wanted.
had two rules under different rules, which was the filibuster. It wasn't. There was what I always called the silent coup in America. Used to be you only needed a little majority, a
You
direct
gotta
majority
schmooze-
in the
you gotta
Senate.
schmooze
Used to need
people.
51 votes. Now you need 60.
Can I tell you what
so you can't get
here's-
anything done.
Here's what I think really is his problem.
Especially since he's got like 10 or 20 people in his own party who are really Republicans, closet
So
Republicans.
here's what I think his problem is. I think he's a very smart guy. I just think he's just not a schmoozer. I think he doesn't, like Clinton.
He's not a schmoozer,
Was
yes.
a charmer. Okay,
Right.
so Republicans could hate him, but they could love him at the same time. And he could,
Right.
I was watching Obama after the State of the Union walk out, and the difference in the way he treated Republicans and Democrats was so stark, in my mind. And if it was Clinton, and I was there for this, you know, you could step him in the back the night before. If he saw you, he'd be like,
Right.
"Oh, man, what's going on? How about that Super Bowl, you know?
Right.
Why don't you come over?"
You're right, exactly.
And, you know, you get things done.
That's, can't argue with that.
You
All
called
right.
it the full Monica, I think.
I didn't mean it that way.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Real Time with Bill Maher. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com.